What do you think of when you hear the word gamer? Do you think of an actual game, or maybe a place, like a dark room, perhaps an individual alone in the dark wearing a hoodie in his mom's basement? If any of these things even briefly crossed your mind, you are not alone. There are many different notions and stereotypes about video games and those who play them, and this has influenced society's attitude towards both. But is there any truth to some of these beliefs? Today we will discuss various commonly held negative beliefs people have about how video games affect the people who play them, and show that they are not supported by the available empirical evidence. Belief 1. Video games will dull your reflexes. In a study from 2010, researchers Spence and Feng from the University of Toronto found that playing action games induce a variety of changes in the brain, including increased spatial awareness, multi-object tracking, contrast sensitivity, and the intentional visual field. The idea that playing video games will impair someone's reflexes is simply not true. In fact, the evidence shows the opposite for certain tasks. Just because you play video games does not mean you can't have good reflexes as well. Belief 3. Video games can worsen mood. This belief is definitively false for short-term mood. In 2020, a paper by Christine Soron at San Jose State University found that for people who were frustrated, that playing video games led to short-term mood improvement if the player felt competent and enjoyed playing the game. This is found to apply to both violent and non-violent video games.
Much better.
Belief 2. Video games can decrease cognitive ability. It is unclear if this belief is true because research papers focus on different aspects of cognitive ability and found cases where it is beneficial or detrimental. However, in 2015, a study by Melissa Boulot, Bradley Oakty, and Ashley Cooper from Ohio State University found that active play with video games can improve problem solving and decision making in students. Belief 4. Video games increase aggression and thus increase violence. It's no shock that throughout time humans have shown themselves to be incredibly violent creatures. It makes sense that we have video games to help us explore our morbid curiosity about death and violence, but can this morbid curiosity lead to something darker offline? According to the American Psychological Association in 2020, an article titled APA Reaffirms Position on Violent Video Game and Violent Behavior, violence is a complex social problem and attributing violence to video games is not scientifically sound. According to Mengyu Yao in a study published in 2019 titled Violent Video Games, Exposure and Aggression, the Role of Moral Disengagement, Anger, Hostility, and Disinhibition, violent video games do create slightly higher levels of aggression and moral disengagement. However, these levels are a temporary rush that will fade and likely result in an individual committing a violent act. Lastly, belief 5. Video games are detrimental to your mental health. How do video games affect mental health? There's a cultural stereotype that people who play video games are likely to have poor mental health. However, research suggests that this is not actually true and that playing video games is in fact correlated with positive mental health outcomes. In February 2021, researchers Nicholas Johans, Matti Vuore, and Andrew K. Shibelsky from the University of Oxford studied the correlation between playtime and mental well-being for two games, Animal Crossing New Horizons and Plant vs. Zombies Battle of Neighborville. The researchers analyzed self-reported survey responses alongside telemetry data provided by the game publishers in order to reveal the correlation or lack thereof between time spent playing video games and mental well-being. The researchers found that playtime was positively correlated with mental well-being, showing that gaming does not, as it is often believed, lead to poor mental health, but can in fact have mental health benefits. In conclusion, we hope that you now know a little more on how video games affect your day-to-day lives, and that there are many misconceptions surrounding video games that society has generalized over the activity of gaming, most of which is not supported by the research evidence. So the next time your grandpa tries to tell you that video games are turning your brain to mush, you know what to say.